Hello everyone, welcome to another live Voice Essentials Hangout. We're a tad early today. I thought I was just waiting. It would have taken another whole minute and a half to go around the song thing again. I thought, blow it, we'll jump in a few seconds early. Good to be with you and for our live hangout, as we always do here on a Monday, Australian Eastern Standard Time at 2 p.m. And for those of you who are interested, you'll be able to figure this out because I just told you it's Monday here in Australia. Quite a number of my guests, as you know, we have really high-level guests here on the show every couple of weeks. And our last guest, as it's often been the case, is Americans seem to somehow think that they're one day ahead of Australia. In fact, you're actually kind of, 12 hours behind-ish, 14 hours in some places. That's kind of all academic. It is so good to be here. I hope you've had a great weekend. Such tragic news coming out of the States over the weekend, and for those of us here on Voice Essentials, if that's affected you in some way, whether it be directly or indirectly, our thoughts and prayers are with you, with the two mass shootings in the US. And certainly the United States have some challenging things to contend with in regards to the gun laws, and we're not going to get into that today because this is a singing channel, but nonetheless our thoughts and prayers are with you. Today what we're going to do is we're going to just very quickly talk about an idea that I've had. This is a bit of a, I'm hoping it proves to be a bit of a brainwave in how I can further serve you, the Voice Essentials community, with voice instruction. A couple of weeks ago, I had the good fortune to run a couple of masterclasses for completely different, unrelated groups. And masterclasses are a really interesting process in which it's kind of a live singing lesson. It is and it isn't. And while I was, so when the setup is, a person in these masterclass sessions that I was running, a person gets up, they sing a song in front of the group, in a sense perform the song, and then the master class, or the master, loosely termed, gets up, and I then workshop that singer's voice and the style and the performance and those sorts of things in front of the group in a manner that is directly related to the singer. So the singer is gaining personal benefit, but the way I like to do it is to still allow the information to have a sense of generic application so that the people who are watching the masterclass session can take something away for themselves and go and implement or practice the stuff that we've talked about with the singer. It's all very, very practical. It is different to a singing lesson in so much as I'm far more structured with my singing lessons and my singing instruction with a one-on-one student. The masterclass is more responding to felt needs in so much as we're looking to directly address certain aspects in the song in the moment as they arise. It's far less, it's more reactionary than it is structured and organized. They both have their place. And in doing the masterclass for both of these groups, I went, we could do this as a part of the live show. And it's kind of, do you know what, for the last, I reckon it's got to be 12 months now, I've really, really wrestled with the proliferation of the voice coach reacts videos. You've seen them everywhere. You have not seen them here at Voice Essentials, and can we say never? The August the 5th, 2019, Daniel says, you'll never see them here on Voice Essentials. There's a whole range of reasons for that, and I don't really want to get into that today with you. I'll have a whole other video that'll come out later in the year where I've actually gone into quite a bit of depth as to the reasons why I don't do them. But that being said, well, in fact, one of the reasons I don't get into for not doing it is because from an educational standpoint, they are rather limited in how you can apply them to you as an average singer. I tell you, the reason I use average is because we're all average singers, in so much as we're not celebrities. We're not singers that have access to multi-million-dollar recording studios. We are not singers who, for the most part, we might have one or two that watch the channel, but in general, you and I are not singers that have access to multi-million-dollar tour companies who are producing the live voice performance in a manner that is incredibly doctored and produced. You and I, we're standing up on your really, very small average PAs in front of, I would dare say, small to medium-sized audiences, and so it's almost like it's kind of there's no horses for courses going on here when we talk about the application of said review. Voice Coach reacts to Katy Perry's latest song, or Ed Sheeran's performance, or whoever it might be. For me, there's a real disconnect between what I see in my studio every day. And do you know what? I see this at voice conferences, voice teaching conferences all the time. Well, often at voice conferences, I didn't mean to get into all of this, but here we are. Voice conferences, we always see teachers, and I completely understand why they do this, always putting up their best, absolutely most polished student. And the reason they do that is on one level, from a point of insecurity on the teacher's part, in not wanting to expose, the average voice as if they are somehow responsible for this voice that has stepped into their studio out of general suburbia. And you know what? I think we can change things. I really do. I think we can learn to be, I'm not saying I am, I'm saying I need to learn to be more secure in what my studio is and who my studio serves. And who I serve here, you guys and gals, here on the channel at Voice Essentials, and here in the community, because we're a bigger community than just Voice Essentials YouTube, and so what I want to do, and I think this will be a wild ride. I have no misconceptions or highfalutin thoughts around this. Will be just magical. I think this will be a real adventure for everyone. I want to try doing a masterclass type idea here on the channel, where and I've already written up some talent release forms, some material release forms. This is the other thing I really struggle with the Voice Coach Reacts videos, is there's no permission being given by said performer for voice teacher to review that performance. This is just, someone jumping up and waxing lyrical. I want everyone to go into this process being completely aware of what they're getting themselves into, in the sense that I would like to think I'm always, even when I'm being critically constructive, I do it in a really, I hope, supportive and encouraging way. But, that's what would be happening. We would be talking about your inadequacies vocally, your inaccuracies vocally, and where we can see you improve. And this would be something we'd be going into together, because do you know, by you becoming vulnerable, if you choose to participate in this, by you becoming vulnerable, do you know what? I actually am becoming vulnerable with you, because I guarantee you there are going to be a truckload of singing teachers who, you know, passively watch on the side of my channel, and I'm aware that they're there, you know, who will be thinking to themselves, well, he doesn't have any clue what he's doing, and I would have done it differently, or he's missed this, or he hasn't addressed that. So, you know, in some respects, we're both going to be being reviewed. Should we, you know, go down this road? I'm hoping that, you know, in us taking a risk together, that it could be a really powerful educational tool and a real learning opportunity for everyone involved. And you know, so I'm really excited about the concept. Now, at the moment, it is only a concept, and in fact, I actually launched the idea in the Facebook community group, the Voice Essentials community Facebook group, which, if you're not a part of it, you've got to be a part of it. It's an awesome group. And I launched the idea last week, or it might have even been the week before. And do you know what? I have had 3 people, in a sense, reach out to see what is required and what is involved, and so, but actually only one of those people would be currently would fulfill the criteria to participate. And here's where I want to be lay out a couple of things for you. For us to proceed, and by the way, I am going to be doing some Q&A today. We're not going to spend all day talking about song reviews and us doing that later in the year. I am going to do Q&A today. If you've got fresh questions, leave them in the oh, I got it wrong. I get it wrong all the time. Leave your live chat questions in the live chat, and the ever faithful and diligent Linda will collate, and we'll see if we can get to some of your questions in a moment. Just general questions today. But before we do, just let me lay out a couple of criteria for participating in the live song reviews. Firstly, you must be 18 years or older. Yeah? And that's really from the point of view, I do teach younger people than 18, but I do not teach younger people than 18 online. And so it is important that you are 18 years or older. The second thing, you must be enrolled, not just the free preview, but you must be enrolled in Voice Essentials 1 course. Now, this is not designed to get more of you to sign up to the course. But what I do want to do is actually value add to those who are in the course. I'm wanting to, you know, really give those participants of the online course, and you can see it scrolling down the bottom here, if you're interested. I really want to give those students of the online course that little bit of extra instruction. For those of you who do the online course, you're encouraged, as you know, you're encouraged to learn a couple of songs as a part of the process of the course. And I thought this would be a great add-on to give you instruction around that. And so certainly want to do that. And then what you need to be able to do is, and we can go about this one of two ways. The first way is you could, then what you do is email me, and I think from memory I've put the email address in the description section of this video. Then what you would do is you would email me, and I will send you basically an email, like a really detailed email with the talent release form and the materials release form that you would read in detail, sign, and send back to me. And once we've okayed all of that stuff, and you're really clear on what's going to be expected of you and what you would be getting into, because you are going to be presenting your voice on this show, yeah. So what would happen is we could either do it one of two ways. We could have you perform the song live on the show, or what I'm suspecting most people will want to do is actually record themselves, and we as a community would watch the video, and I'd get you to upload your recorded video, and it has to be fresh. It can never have been on YouTube before, because otherwise we'll get copyright issues and what have you. So it's got to be. It can have been on Facebook before, but it cannot have been on YouTube before. And then you'd upload that to Dropbox, and then we would play that video as a part of the show. We, as a community, would watch the performance, and then we'd come out of that, and I will have some notes that we would then practically together work through, and I would actually give you exercises and activities, and we would do them live on the show, where everyone will be viewing and watching and hopefully learning as a result of the process. Now, it is really important, and I want as many of you to participate in this as you possibly can, but equally, it is important for you to know this is and I always start my masterclasses off with this, not disclaimer, but really framing it. Masterclassing can be a really highly vulnerable space to step into. I do my absolute utmost to make it safe and make it encouraging, and I know that our two moderators, Linda and Karen from Singwise, would be making sure that they cut off any trolling or comments that are inappropriate. But nonetheless, it is still a nervy thing to do, because you're going to be presenting your voice to everyone. Do you know, I just had a thought. What could be really wonderful about this if we can get this happening? And I don't want to just do it once. I want this to become a regular thing that we do once a month, twice a month. It could get really exciting. Is in doing it, it's the other thing that I think it's going to really do is develop us as a community, because you'll get to see more of each other. For those of you who are here regularly, you'll get to see more of it. Now, someone did ask me, one of the 3 people that have already approached me to see if they could participate, and at the moment do not qualify to participate, is they were asking, would they need to actually come on to the show live and to actually be involved in the process. At this point, I am wanting to restrict the process to someone coming on live, just like I have the live guests, as you have all seen the show here. Just like I have the live guests, we would want the people to come on live, and would want to interact with you, and so in some respects, let me sell it to you on a dollar value. My lessons, if you have a private lesson with me here in the studio, it's 125 Australian dollars. If you order one lesson with me privately online, it's $150. So in one sense, this is a session that you're not going to pay for. It will come free to you, and it would be worth in the vicinity of $100 and something. And so that's the sort of value add I'm trying to give you personally, but also to the community as a whole. So I wonder if you've got any questions about that, and Linda, I might get you to keep an eye out and sort of maybe collate these particular questions in regards to the song reviews in a different section, Linda, if you can, in the Word document, in our online document that we share, so that I can answer any questions that you might have about this. as I said, I'm really excited about the concept. At the moment, though, it's only a concept because I haven't received, even that one person who I have fired the email and the details off to has not responded yet. Now, I would be thinking that I'd like to get into doing this. In fact, let me tell you the date I'm hoping to do it. I don't know that we'll get to do it on this date, but I'll tell you the date that I'm hoping to start this off. I'm hoping to start this off on the 14th of October. So we've got a little bit of time. So you would have a little bit of time to get your performance recording ready or what have you. But I just wanted to sort of get it out there now. And in part because I'm actually not going to see you again for 2 Mondays. I am going on holidays. For the next 2 Mondays, there will be no live show. So just a heads up, my family and I, Jody and the kids, we are going south, and we are going to be away for 2 weeks. Well, not 2 weeks, but we'll be away for 2 Mondays. And so it will be 3 Mondays before we come back. And I wanted to get you this information now so that you can start to think about it. And, do you know, can I say to you, this is going to be a really nervy thing for you to do. And some of you are going to really balk at the thought of doing it, understandably, and you should, but that shouldn't be a reason to not do it, okay? I think we all know me by now, and I think you all know that I am going to absolutely handle you with care, with love, with respect, but I also hope that it will prove to be really beneficial. So again, you've got to be involved in the Voice Essentials 1 course at this stage. I would prefer that you were involved in the Facebook group as well. I think that you will get a lot of support in that space from doing it. And anyway, so I'll throw that out to you. I really do hope you'll give that some thought, and I'm hoping that I will get emails even in the next, couple of weeks. Next couple of days, next couple of hours, it would be awesome to have your interest come through to my inbox. Anyway, let's draw a line under that, and let's do some Q&A. Okie dokie. Let me just double check that I don't have any music coming through. Now, let me jump across. I just want to check our stream is going well. So let me come down here, all the way down. Hey, wasn't our guest last week awesome? I know it was an unusual subject to cover. Ladies, if you haven't watched last week's show, it was for you specifically. We were looking at things like menopause and the impact of hormones and the menstrual cycle on the voice. Really good subject to cover. And we had a special guest, Joanne Bozeman, who came on and was so generous with her knowledge around that subject. And so she's from the US, great singing teacher, and we've had her husband here before as well, Kenneth. Anyway, go and check that out. There's so much good information on there. I am coming down here to today's questions. Okay. Lord God, previously known as Once and Future King. Okay. Why did you change your name, Once and Future? Anywho, Dr. Dan, did you used to provide a review service of singing on your website? I saw the service and fee and wonder why you no longer do so. Actually, that's a really good question, Once and Future. Or Lord God, or however you want to be referred to now. It's actually come down to a time thing. I literally just don't have time to do the in-depth reviews that I was once doing for people. I just don't have the time. I'm just time poor currently. And so I took that service away, but I'm kind of instituting it into for us as a community, as in a sense free of charge, because it used to be, from memory, I think I would do 3 songs for $250. It was not a, this is not a cheap process to do, but nonetheless, because of time, I removed that. And so you're not wrong. I did used to have that available for purchase directly, but I don't do that anymore. Matt, hi Matt. Nice. Does speaking voice correlate with singing voice as far as tone and pitch are concerned, or are the singing and speaking voice 2 separate voices? No, they are one voice, in the sense that it's one mechanism doing 2 things. Now, most certainly, your singing is underpinned and impacted by your speaking. You have to learn to walk properly before you can sing properly, because you're speaking 95% of the time. Even professional singers are speaking predominantly using their larynx far more than they do for speaking than they do for singing. And so it is not you don't use a different set of legs to run than you do to walk, but the way you walk is going to have an impact on the way you run. And so you often need to workshop your gait and get that moving. I don't know if you've ever seen runners actually walking, like they slow steps down and they work on that. And it's not that different with your singing as to speaking. And on occasion, I send some of my professional students, typically, as in people who are professional voice users, I will often send them for a 2 or 3 sessions with a speech pathologist to receive instruction around the manner in which just to get the most efficiency out of their speaking as we can. So it certainly correlates to your singing voice. As far as the tone and the pitch, we would typically expect there to be some sense of correlation, certainly in contemporary voice, which is, historically we referred to, in fact, Seth Riggs' material was referred to as speech level singing, because it was very much orientated towards short and dominant, thick fold, chest voice sounds. M1 is the modern language of that. And so there is some correlation there. But in fact, for classical singers, and I don't know that this is necessarily a good thing, but it's not uncommon to hear classical singers become quite light in their speaking, and it's because the voice becomes, I would think a classical pedagogue would suggest, and because I am not one, but that would suggest an imbalance in the musculature, and so there's not a correlation then between, well, there becomes a correlation, but maybe not the right type. Anyway, Dragon Ball Z, no, Dragon Ball Prince. Dragon Ball Z is anyway. I have Asperger's. How can I tell if I'm in mixed voice? Well, firstly, I don't know that whether your Asperger's, Dragon Ball Prince, would have any effect on whether you are or aren't mixed voice. So we'd probably put the Asperger's to the side. Your mixed voice is about. I know there has unfortunately been some confusion. Oh, what's happened here? Can I just check something, everyone? I want to make sure that I've got everything right. Okay, I think we're good. There's been some confusion online. In fact, I did a whole video, it'd have to be 18 months ago, about mixed voice and Dragon Ball Prince. I keep going to say Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Prince, you can go and check out my video on the subject of mixed voice. If you jump across the channel, you'll find it there. And I kind of, that video was in response to this idea that was being touted that mixed voice was a whole separate register. Certainly the model that I use, which incidentally, so a couple of things. This Wednesday, there's a new pre-record video coming out. and that one is focused on, this is in a couple of days, is talking about how do you know you've arrived with your development of technique? When do you arrive? You know, it's the typical, you know, call out from kids, you know, are we there yet? I'm sure I'll get that a couple of times when we go on our driving holiday in a few days. Are we there yet? And it can be the same in singing, can't it? You know, when do you know you've developed this thing called techniques? We're going to talk about that on Wednesday. In a month's time, and on the first Wednesday of September, I'm releasing a new video. This is actually a really in-depth video to the point where I think it's going to be about 20 minutes long. So it's got a lot of, this is going to have a lot in it. And it is going to be about voice registration. And I'm going to be unpacking my understanding and hopefully educating you around a model called Thurman and Welch, the Thurman and Welch model of voice registration. So not mine, I'm not going to claim, I wish I could, but I can't. It's the Thurman and Welch model, released in about the year 2000, and it really talks us through that. In the Thurman and Welch model, there is no allowance for a mix model, a mix registration. Mix is simply a balancing of the musculature so that you've got an equal amount of thyroarytenoid, an equal amount of cricothyroid. We go into this in the video, and we get a really good mix. And this is why the term's actually, firstly, confusing. Secondly, doesn't really do justice to the idea, which is why the language of mode 1, mode 2 have come about, because it kind of tries to address the acoustic value of voice, of registration. But mix is kind of a balancing of the mechanism. And so chest voice would be ya, a head voice would be ya, and a mixed voice would be ya. So there's more body, yeah, but it's no longer chest and it's no longer head, it's kind of in between. Again, we're going to actually do away with the terms head and chest in the video. I'll explain it all. It is a long video, and in fact it gets really practical in the second half of the video. It'll get really practical. It'll help you to map your own registration. I'm really hoping, because it's one of my big videos, I've spent some good dollar on animation for you, and hopefully it'll create some clarity for you around what all this language is, because terminology, you know, language is often the gatekeeper, isn't it, into understanding stuff. Matt's asked a follow-up question, and this is the follow-up question to, this is the first question. Does speaking voice correlate with singing voice as far as tone and pitch? Or are the singing and speaking voice two separate voices? So the follow-up question is, if that is the case, then why do I have an easier time shifting my pitch while talking than I do when singing? My voice can get higher more easily when speaking compared. That's almost certainly, Matt, and having seen, you know, a couple of your performances on the Facebook channel, the Facebook group, that I would suggest it's because there's the subglottal pressure that you're working with your singing is not enabling or allowing your mechanism to shift pitch easily, because there's probably a little bit too much stress. The subglottal pressure is too high, and therefore the larynx is under too much strain and can't adjust as well as we would want it to for your singing. Whereas with your speaking, you're probably, you know, taking that subglottal pressure away. It's happening a lot easier. Also, the thing we need to remember too is that moving with your spoken pitch as opposed to your singing pitch has a far greater range of variance in pitch. Whereas speaking, while we do modulate our pitch and we're up here and we're down there and we do it for effect, it's not as wide as we would expect in our singing. Fleur Diaz, how do we strengthen the mixed voice to make it sound more chesty than heady? Well, I am a great believer, Fleur, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I am a great believer in ensuring, firstly, the way to develop mix is, firstly, you've really got to work the registers in isolation. So you've got to develop the shortener dominant, the chest voice sound. I'm gonna use head and chest for the sake of ease of vernacular today. We've got to strengthen the chest. Then we've got to strengthen the head voice. And when we do that, then we can start to build bridges. We can start to build some connectivity between the two, and we talk about transitions. The classical people referred to them as passagios, these points. And it used to be thought that it was just a mechanical shift. We now know that it's not only mechanical, but it's also acoustical. There are acoustic implications for our transitions. And as we get better at being able to do and bridge the movement between the two, then we can start to develop the application of a bit more tonal quality of head, or a bit more tonal quality, acoustic quality of chest. And we start to play it, and we start to workshop it. And that's how we strengthen mix. I would prefer to use the word how we develop mix, because strengthen, again, kind of leaves the impression, and I know this is not what you were getting at, Fleur, but I'm just thinking, I think for me, the word strengthen suggests this idea of bulking a muscle or whatever, which again leads down the road of thinking of it as a standalone register, and it is not. So we can certainly develop mix register. Gee, I hope we can come up with a better term. Blended register. I don't know. We all know what we're talking about when we talk mix. We're developing the ability to sort of change the ratios, etc., as we go. XP Nova, good to see you. I let myself retract my vocal folds, but I still strain even with good support. And open vowels. Linda's still typing this. She'll be having a chuckle right now because I'm chasing her pink line on the Word document. I've got to let her type before we continue. Hey, don't forget, if you've got any questions, don't forget to write them up here ahead of schedule. If you've got any questions also about the live song reviews, write them up there for Linda. Okay, I think Linda has finished. Thank you, Linda. Okay, I'm going to go back and start the question again. XP Nova has asked, I let myself retract my vocal folds, but I still strain even with good support and open vowels. This is mainly past my middle register or when I project more. I think that might be the key there, XP. I can hear a sharp ping as I project. That's the end of the question, I think. It's what Linda is writing. I can see Linda's face smiling right now because she's probably having a good chuckle to herself. I think the key to your question, and perhaps maybe the indication of the answer, is when I project more. And that would, again, it kind of comes back to what I was just saying to Matt. It's likely that because of your sense of needing to project more, that the subglottal pressure is reaching a point at which the voice is constricting or clamping or valving down against that sense of pressure. It's trying to hold the air back as you're going higher. Now, as the voice is going higher, the vocal folds are elongating, and there's less surface area for the space for the air to escape, and so the pressure's getting higher. And so one of the challenging things when developing technique is learning to adjust your airflow to manage the right amount of pressure, so you're keeping the pressure at an equal level, but you're having to reduce the airflow, as you're going higher whilst you're maintaining or increasing the dynamic. This is one of the reasons why learning to sing is not easy. It is a hard thing to do. because there's so many balances that are required that we need to achieve. And so, the very fact that this is happening up past your middle, what you're referring to as middle register, some people would call mixed register. Again, it's not a register. Yeah, there is no register in the middle of your voice like that, unless we actually want to suggest that head register, which I'm not even going to. You're going to have to watch the video in a month's time, okay? It's going to go into it in a lot of detail, like explain the Thurman and Welch model. Anyway, I hope, did I just answer the question? I have no idea. How are we going for time? We're going to have to finish up soon. Clips Dash asks, how can I exercise proper breathing, sir? That's a very, very nice add-on of sir. In fact, I have noticed that quite a number of people from India and Pakistan and Sri Lanka, because we've got quite a few people who watch the channel from the subcontinent, call me sir. It's very kind, and I'm not going to say don't do it because I don't want to offend you, but can I allow you to know that it's not required. Certainly in Australian culture, calling me sir is not necessary. How can I exercise proper breathing? This is from Clips Dash. Learning to breathe well, and it's funny. I was in Sydney over the weekend. As many of you know, I'm the national president of the Australian Voice Association, and we were having the national board were meeting in Sydney, and we were having a strategic meeting. Such a good day, such a good team of people, and the board is made up of ear, nose and throat doctors and speech pathologists and a couple of singing teachers. Little old me. And in fact, during that weekend, I was having a conversation about breathing, and we were talking about the fact that there are some pedagogues who subscribe to the idea that learning to breathe well is not something you have to focus on. It's not something you have to develop. And I humbly disagree. And this is the point I made in the conversation I had over the weekend. You know what? The human body, well, maybe you're different, but I think most of us are like the rest of us. The human body doesn't do things well naturally. In fact, more often than not, what it wants to do naturally is very poor. I'm more often than not having to teach it how to perform or act efficiently, proficiently. And I find it's the same with my breathing. I have to teach my body how to breathe well. And so, in fact, the Voice Essentials 1 online course, and if I go here, I wonder if this will come up for you. The Voice Essentials online course, and you can see it there, the scrolling down the bottom again, it goes into the breath management. As many of you, I've forgotten to tell you all something very, 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 very super exciting. I cannot believe I forgot to say this at the very beginning. For those of you who have hung around, exciting news. You all know that I've got Voice Essentials 3. So we've the exercise collections. We've got Voice Essentials 1 and Voice Essentials 2. I'm trying to keep my finger in the thing there. Voice Essentials 1, Voice Essentials 2. We are currently in pre-production. Well, we've actually gone into production of Voice Essentials 3. We are going to, by the time we've finished, there will be 50 technical exercises for the contemporary singer in the Voice Essentials collection. But it's spread over 3 collections, 1, 2, and 3. We currently have, and Voice Essentials 3 will be released, we're pitching it early October. I don't know how we're going to go with it, but we're pitching at that. We also have Voice Essentials 1 online course. In the beginning of next year, we will release Voice Essentials 2 online course, which steps you through Voice Essentials 2 exercise collection. And then the following year, I'll release Voice Essentials 3. So none of that's rocket science. What I have decided to do is I am going to, as you know, if you're a part of Voice Essentials 1 course, you get access to the lesson sheets. So it's a full printout with the transcription of the notes, a relevant video to watch, what you should be doing in the exercise. It's far more detailed in its instruction for every single exercise. I have decided to release, and we're going to be starting to do this when we release. This is going to be like launching this at the same time as Voice Essentials 3, so you cannot get this yet. But going forward from October, whenever we release Voice Essentials 3, I am going to start actually also making available at only the smallest of prices. At this stage, I'm thinking an extra $10. So if you were to buy Voice Essentials 1 exercise collection, which by itself is $24.95, for an extra $10, you will also be able to buy the exercises as well as the e-manual, a PDF of all of the exercise sheets that go with that Voice Collections series. And then what we're going to do is make it available as a full bundle. So it'll be Voice Essentials 1, 2, and 3 exercise collection, as well as an e-manual that will have all the exercise sheets all available all in one. So I'm hoping that that is a really productive thing to do for you guys and gives you access to far more detail, and also gives you access to that detail before I can, because it's taken me a little while to get the online courses going. Of course, the online courses, the value of those is stepping it through individually with you. And anywho, I forgot to tell everyone we're doing that, but that's what we're going to do. I'm very excited about that. I think it'll be of great value to those of you who choose to download the e-manual. So anyway, clips, you can learn how to breathe well in Voice Essentials 1 online course. I know it gets all very confusing, but anywho, as far as the, what everything's called. Elizabeth has asked, how does smoking affect singing? I am a smoker trying to quit. Elizabeth, good on you for trying to quit. I know, and not personally because I haven't had to give up smoking myself, but I've lost count of how many singers I've had in the studio over the years who are also on that journey of trying to quit things like tobacco or other disciplines that are not advantageous to their voice or their general health. And it's a really hard battle, and I really encourage you, really just keep going and make sure you see your doctor so they can provide you with the right support and assistance. And I wish you all the best. Smoking is actually a really dangerous thing to do when you also sing. There is some, and in fact I don't know where it is anymore. I came across this information years ago, and so I've got to be careful with it because I can't back it up by actually directing you to the exact study, but it'd have to be somewhere. From memory, the statistically, you heighten the risk of the development of esophageal and laryngeal cancers when you have that heightened voice use, for example, such as singing, as in, almost, we're probably talking professional level here, as in professional voice user, and you smoke. And so I've got to be careful here. I'm not saying that singing and smoking will, you'll definitely get cancer. No one can categorically say that, but it heightens the risk. And so perhaps you can add that into your motivating factors around ceasing. It also, I think some people do fall into the trap of thinking that their smoking improves the overall timbre and tone of their voice. And whilst on a textual level, that huskiness that certainly long-term tobacco smoking can give you may give you a certain vocal effect. The problem with it is, more often than not, you can't turn that off. So it's a it flicks that textual switch on, and you can't turn it off because it's actually anatomical. You know, you've actually changed the structure, the surface structure of the vocal fold. That's the first thing. The second thing, it's often, you know, it might give you that textural effect, but it also limits, more often than not, the agility of the voice. It reduces breath prolongation. It reduces stamina. It typically reduces range. So, okay, so you might get this textural advantage, but actually you lose on nearly every other point when it comes to smoking and singing. There will be people that don't like to hear that, and I know, Elizabeth, you won't be one of them, but you know, it's something that I always encourage every developing singer to do their best to, you know, to start with, at least reduce the amount of smokes they're having in a day, and then after that make some decisions around trying to quit if they can. I'm going to give the last question to Jamie A, because we need to finish up. How do you articulate vowels without tongue tension or jaw tension? Hey Jamie, I've got a great exercise. It's not an easy exercise, but it is a great exercise on Voice Essentials 1, exercise 14, I think, from memory. And firstly, do we say that we articulate vowels? I guess we do. It's more that we form vowels. We kind of, articulations, that's an interesting question. I don't know. If Karen's still around, I'd be really interested to hear from her. I think she might have gone to bed because it's very late where Karen is. Do we articulate? It's more, the word articulate for me, I often think of consonants and fricatives, and so your T's, your D's, and that's where that sort of articulate, that's where I think, and then I often think of it as forming vowels or developing vowels, and it's sort of we shape vowels. But maybe we do articulate vowels. Isn't it appalling that I've been doing this as long as I have, and I'm really stumped by that question? Anyway, that's all theory and, you know, academic. It really doesn't really matter. How do you articulate vowels? So the exercise goes like this. So it's 5 vowels. It's quite a challenging activity, and it's causing you to shape the vowels. Another exercise on Voice Essentials 1 would be sing, so you can hear me going through each of the vowels there, or a range of vowels, and then Linda's just writing in there, he does mean both consonants as well. So with consonants, there's a great exercise on Voice Essentials 2 called the Lady Gaga exercise, where I've got Lady Gaga, ga, l, d, g. And so it's causing you to work those different consonants. And so you can go and check those out. There is actually a whole video on the Lady Gaga exercise on the channel. And Jamie, you might want to go and have a look at that. I think we're pretty much out of time, to be honest. I hope you've enjoyed today. I've got 2 weeks off, as you already know. There's no live hangouts for the next 2 Mondays. I've got a couple of really cool guests lined up in the immediacy after I get back. Marcy Daniels Rosenberg will be joining us. She's the co-author of The Vocal Athlete. They've just released their 2nd edition, so we've got Marcy coming on to talk about that. She's fabulous. You're going to love her. And then I have got who is arguably the world's best singing teacher. That is all I'm going to say. But she is... I'm not going to say any more. I'll just leave it at that. Jan van der Stoel will be joining us in September. If you're in Australia, you may have heard of Jan, but she is the world's best singing teacher, and she is going to tell you why she is when we have her come on to the channel. It's that... I don't know whether I'm scared about that show or whether I'm nervous or looking forward to it. Anywho, it'll be a show that you will not want to miss. It is going to be one of the year's highlights. I guarantee it. For reasons that you cannot even imagine. Anyway, look, I hope you've enjoyed today's live hangout. Look, I hope you stay safe for the next couple of weeks. And very much looking forward to hanging out with you in a few weeks. I'm going to come back super refreshed. Many of you know I love skiing. Well, I'm going on a skiing holiday. I must admit, we're driving all the way down to the ski fields in New South Wales, and it's one of my favourite things to do on the whole world, besides singing, is ski. So I'm going down there with the family. It is going to be a lot of fun. I hope you've enjoyed today's live hangout. Hit the the thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the white bell icon so you never miss one of these hangouts. I'm looking forward to seeing you all again real soon. I'm Dr. Dan. Sing well.